Hello, Dr. D.
Hello, Arden.
Okay, that was a tough one. That's on a scale of 1 to 8 because I didn't play the most famous part. Do you know the song?
1812 Overture.
Damn it. One of these days, I am going to stump you. One of these days. Darn. All right. So, tonight, everyone, we have a very special guest. Tom Joseph is going to join us. Now, if you don't know Tom, I recommend you learn who this man is. Tom, I'm going to let you speak for yourself. I want you to tell everyone in America and also all over the world, because we actually are international again. We had 17 countries listen to our website last week, our podcast, our website. I don't even know what I'm talking about. So, Tom, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Arden. And Dr. D, thanks so much for having me on your program. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about America's Main Street Party.
Glad to
Okay.
have you here, Tom.
So, how did you get started as the founder of the American Main Street Party? How did you get this all beginning?
I'd like to say it's a happy accident. It's probably an unhappy accident. During the COVID, I was just kind of frustrated. I thought partisanship was going to kill us.
Hmm.
And I applied for some PPP funding, and I was it was very early on. I didn't know whether A, I would live, or B, that my business would survive. But I made a promise that at that time, if I did survive financially and physically, that I would do something. And I knew that being my age, I really didn't think it was right for me to be running for office. I wanted to change the system, but I wanted to do it within the current construct. What I've seen is that, the people who are trying to change laws, to change things, are getting nowhere.
Okay. So, and I'm seeing the same thing. This is my own perspective. And I always let everyone know that I am a conservative, but I'm not a Republican. I have my values, but at the same time, I'm opening to listen. That's another reason why I couldn't wait to have you on. I'm like, I don't even know and it doesn't matter. I want to listen to someone who hopefully has some great common sense
I'm
because,
fascinated by this. Yeah.
yeah, I think this is great. This is a great topic. So, um, okay, using the construct that's in front of you, how are you going to make change? Where would you make change? Would it be small at first? Do you want to just go full bore and just go for it? What do
Well,
you want to do?
you have to kind of reset your thought on what a political party is.
Hmm.
They're all ideological. They're generally funded by, rich people that want to
Hmm.
fund their own campaigns. I was really more about trying to figure out a fair way to choose a nominee that was really looking at it from the people's perspective,
Hmm.
not from a wealthy person's perspective. If we were doing a full reset on this and starting over again, how would we do it? And I kind of naively started going down a path that initially was not legal, but it
Okay.
allowed, but not knowing what I didn't know was actually helpful because I had freedom of thought to kind of carry it through. And it's interesting how the whole thing concluded. But my thought was like, hey, um, I made a joke one day that we do a better job picking the next American Idol than we do the next representative of Congress. And it made me think that
Mm.
we could do something. Somebody who enters American Idol can't buy themselves into the next round. It's a level playing field. They provide a fair platform for people to
Hmm.
move on. And I
That's
kind of
true.
put something
Yep.
together around that notion that, if we could create, my background is in systems engineering, but basically create an app and a portal that would allow people to put campaigns on that were all equal, kind of like a match.com for
Hmm.
Congress, except for less mystery.
Right.
Um, that, that people would have an opportunity to put videos on, they position papers, it might be even some graphic design for preliminary campaign marketing ideas. But whatever they have, whether it's video, text, or pictures, they have an equal number of seconds, characters, and pixels of a free, fair, and equal contest. And if there's ways for the constituents to filter through these potential nominees to find the ones that match their values, and that I'd actually worked with college interns in Philadelphia to kind of take this idea and to take it further. And one of the great ideas that came out of it was to have this thing called kind of an issue indicator, but there'd be 7 issues that a local committee would say, this is what's going to be on the before Congress in the next 2 years. And we want anybody entering the contest has to weigh in on these these 7 issues, left,
Mm-hmm.
right, center. And then the constituents can pick the ones, 2, 3, 4 that are important to them, and it will immediately return, say, hey, 20 of these 100 potential nominees match them. You could go look at all their stuff, but you could just
Right.
also endorse them all. So what we want to show is that we can do this, and it can be easier than playing Wordle. That people can access their information. I mean, there's a security aspect to this.
Right,
but,
right.
But in terms of choosing and finding the nominees, you'd be a much better, and you're actually playing a hand in this than basically having to vote for the person the party picks. Because right now, you go into a primary election, it's probably the incumbent. They're loaded with cash.
Yep.
It's almost impossible to knock them down unless they didn't toe the party line. And then
Right.
then they're going to be primaried from the left or right. I mean, our politics are already too extreme. So what's interesting about this is really designed to combat gerrymandering. So
Right.
the thought is that if you place these fair contests into unfair districts, that it will give a voice to that 30% that's been gerrymandered into that, and they can push the needle in a red district, not to blue, but they can make it pink. And the
Right.
same thing when you put this into the other district, you put this in a blue district, it's going to take it from navy to baby blue, not red. So,
Right.
but it does give conservatives in a liberal district and liberals in a conservative a voice. And right now they don't have any voice. And it really, if you think about it, if elections were completely fair and free, you wouldn't want a gerrymander. All you're doing is tainting your district. You wouldn't want opposition votes,
Right.
in your population. So the only way you can counter this type of system is to ungerrymander the districts. But it's really about creating a competitive market force, not an ideological organization.
Now, here on who or how would be the group running it? Would it be your group running it? And who would be the person who guards you?
You know what? This is a system of check and balances. There's actually 4 types of committees that are involved. This is one of the, I think, really novel things about this idea is that I built the checks and balances into the system. So the national party is like the tech company, and they distribute the free and equal contest. And their charter is to always do an equal number of red and blue.
Okay.
And that's their check. Their check on the system. A super PAC really funds this whole thing and more or less will pick the districts. And my check on the super PAC is that, hey, if you pick 15 red and 5 blue, that's not the rule. You got to go 10 and 10, 5 and 5, 20 and 20, whatever it is. Keeps it nonpartisan. The local committees are the one that configure it to that, and they localize it, and they're the ones who are going to be really responsible for overseeing it and making sure it's executed in accordance to the rules that the National Party, America's Main Street Party, has put in place. So we could invalidate it. We could say, hey, you know what? This district ran it, and we think somebody cheated, whatever. And then the super PAC doesn't back the winner. So there's the ways to do that. But the ultimate control is that in exchange for the nominees coming in this contest, not having to spend any money and never having to prostitute themselves to donors, at the end of the day, when they go into the general election, they have to name somebody from that local committee to be their treasurer of their campaign committee. And the rules is that they have to either spend down that money, return any excess to the nominating committee, and any individual candidate can't donate any more than a regular citizen. So no buying offices, no war chests. So if we can get rid of those 2 things, that changes the system, I believe, fundamentally.
Now, what has to happen first? Like, does this have to go into the states first? Because the states run their own elections. You're nodding your head, but bear with
We
me.
don't have to do any.
You don't have to do
follow
anything.
any rules. We
Okay.
don't follow any rules because this is a private contest. All we have to
Right.
do is form a local committee, a 527 committee in that state, and publish the contest to them. And this is a great thing about it, is that the establishment cannot stop this. But the things that have to happen is first is that we have to develop the app. The app is just released in a beta form. You can play with it. It's on the mainstreetparty.org website. And it's populated. It's 2 districts. One's Pennsylvania 1, one's Pennsylvania 2. One's a red, one's a blue district in Philadelphia. And we populate it with like 100 pretend their avatars. We use AI to generate images and little videos of them. And you get a feeling for how it would work. Obviously, it needs a lot more money to build it out. This is built on a shoestring. But the first step is to make sure that people understand it. I really want to use this to attract a super PAC. Find somebody in the middle that has money that says, "Hey, this system is messed up, and we can really make a change." You get some big money behind this, then that helps us raise the little money that's necessary to complete the software development. But at the end of the day, kind of the process would be is that, and I don't see this happen for 2026, but say 2028, is that they would pick, say, 10 red, 10 blue districts, and way in advance of our contest, they would start running public service announcements. Say, hey, this is coming here. If you're interested in being a candidate, here's what you need to do. If you're interested in being on the nominating committee, here's what you need to do. And that the super PAC kind of coordinates that. Now, with the change to Supreme Court rules, we would actually, as a party, now be able to do more coordination. But when I came up with this construct, the rules were a lot stiffer about participation between parties and actual candidates. But I do think that you could, I know it sounds like a lot of money, but they spent $1 billion in a Senate race. I think for $100 million, you could take out 20 red, 20 blue House seats. I mean, you could run in them, and I think we'd win most of them because it'd be the only time that people ever chose their candidate. And I think if you go through 5 rounds and people feel like they really selected this person, they feel way more ownership in that nominee than they do the incumbent. So a lot of them, people are starting to hate the parties anyway.
And which I do. And I do.
Yes, same here.
I actually just read an article like the least expensive party race was like $120,000 of across the entire country. That was the least expensive, like everywhere, all districts. And I'm like, well, what about the people who run unopposed, which happens where I live? Republicans don't run because they know they're going to get crushed. So someone
that's where we kind of want to go.
That's actually I was hoping that someone like you would be there.
There's 3 categories of districts that we put. We're swing districts.
Okay.
And I don't think this works there as well because there's already competition and it's driving the nominees from swing districts tend to be pink and maybe blue anyway. There's naturally uncompetitive districts. Those are districts that have not been gerrymandered. Think about a deep red district, has no city anywhere in sight, or like Alaska, but or a city that hasn't been gerrymandered outside districts. The gerrymandered districts is where you really have representatives that are on average winning with like 70 to 80% of the vote.
Right.
Where you're right, the opposition party, there's enough votes there that they're really bearing a lot of votes, but not enough for them to legitimately put a candidate up. And those would be the ones, and it's incredible how many districts there are. Not only that the typical representative is like 70 years old. Right. And, these are like, 3-decade representatives. And I think we're ready for new people.
We're ready for new people. Before I forget, do you want to give your website out again?
Sure. It is America's Main Street Party, mainstreetparty.org.
Perfect.
And there's a page there called A Brand New Way, and it basically will tell you about this 3-step process. There's 3 endorsement rounds, to whittle the field to a top 4. Then what we're calling a town hall round, and we're evaluating different voting methods, whether it be ranked choice or pick 2 or star voting, to get to a top 2, and then a debate round. So the choice is always between the final 2 candidates. I think some of the complaints about ranked choice, you can get some weird outcomes. But the way we're doing it, when you go from 4 to 2, there's really only one re-ranking. So you'll always get the legitimate top 2. And then you have a debate, and then the voters pick their preferred candidate.
Well, with your permission, hopefully you would let us make sure, like I already follow you on X and everything else, but I want to make sure that we are allowed to use, we're actually going to put a link on our websites just so that you can, our fans actually can go out there because we have people.
Everything's public domain.
Okay, I always want to make sure, but I always like to ask.
Yeah.
There's no commercial intent. Right? There's something. Actually, I have two organizations. The other entity I have is it's an LLC only for protecting my interests, but it has no commercial intent. It's called Wilson's Fountain. A lot of the theories behind what we're doing are based on constitutional author James Wilson, who he's the guy who added the words "and equal" to what had been the free election clause first appeared in the 1790 Pennsylvania Constitution. But his thing, he used the fountain reference because he said unfairness poisons the fountain. They lived in an agrarian economy. Having a poisoned fountain kills all the crops in the field.
Right.
So his thought is that, if elections aren't fair, it poisons all aspects of this administering the state. And I think we're pretty close to it being completely spoiled. But if you return to a free and equal system, that cleansed fountain can purify the system, that we can get people back representing us who really, really, really represent, not us, not the interests of big money. And I think that's happening on both sides.
Well, this is going to be an actual hard question that because we have a lot of international listeners who don't understand American politics at all, and we have a lot of people here in America that don't understand politics at all, unlike myself and Dr. D. Could you just give the simplest synopsis of the actual problems that you're truly trying to fix?
Well, basically accountability.
Okay.
I think that the people who get on TV, they perform for donors. They're able to lie and get away with it because they know they'll get reelected as long as they do the party bidding. And that is the fundamental problem. If money is the root of all evil, we're going to try to cleanse the system of money's influence on who people pick. And so if you have if money distorts representation, the absence of it in a nominating process should return a candidate that's in the center of that bell curve. Political spectrums placed on populations are always bell curves. In a naturally uncompetitive district, it's actually a skewed bell. It doesn't look like a normal bell. But when you gerrymander it, it actually returns it to look like a normal bell, not with the middle being moderate, but the middle being lean right, lean left.
Right.
And that's the candidate that ought to be representing that district. And to me, this is just a math problem. And it's kind of a Moneyball approach to being, restoring the voice of the people.
Now, believe it or not, I heard this question today. I forgot what show I was listening to on my way to work. And the guy, they had a guest, a call in, and he said, why can't we just lower the amount that people can donate completely? For example, make a maximum cap of whatever, $1 million. That's all the senator can get. No matter how many donations they can only get $1 million, or you're only allowed to donate $10. Like this, and once again,
the problem isn't really with the candidate committees themselves. The problem is with the super PACs behind the candidate.
Right.
So until we overturn Citizens United, you can't. That donation limit on the individual candidate campaigns or to the parties doesn't really matter, frankly. And in our construct, we're looking at the super PAC being because it has the big money, handling all the expensive stuff, basically the marketing campaign, the digital advertising, the TV advertising, and that the candidate committee's going to handle the ground game, which is cheap. And so even though we don't have limits on it, we're just going to try to more or less say, hey, you're going to do the stuff that's really close to the constituents, isn't going to cost a lot of money, out there talking, and then the super PAC is going to do this. And because they're spreading their money across 20 red, 20 blue, they're really leaning their system on reforming elections, not reforming policy. The policy all comes from the bottom up. That's what James Wilson believed. Popular sovereignty, the government comes bottom up from the people. Right now, there's a huge disconnect because money separates the people from the representatives.
Now, obviously, you're going to get pushback instantaneously. Obviously. I mean, there's on all sides. So what are your small-term obstacles and what are like the monolithic obstacles? Look at me using a college word.
I mean, the monolithic obstacle is really getting recognition in the press, which we've really had a hard time doing. And last fall, I spent a lot of money with a PR firm out of New York, pitching this at a time when gerrymandering is in news. And frankly, the major media just didn't either understand it or want to cover it. And I kind of think it might have been the latter. And we've faced a lot of resistance, not only from the media, but also from other election reform organizations. So the people that are for like getting rid of or for open primaries and getting ranked choice voting, they have the same issues the party have. They want to be loyal to their donors. So they see an idea like this and it's threatening. And frankly, they haven't been I would say they haven't been receptive at all to this idea, even though to me, this is the way you break the two-party system. I don't see it happening any other way. Their reforming the system will make it better if it's going to make a terrible system slightly less worse. What I'm proposing is really game changing. It's fundamentally changed the relationship between politicians and money. Nobody else is even pitching to anything close.
So, I mean, I live in Virginia right now, Northern Virginia, especially, talking about gerrymandering. I'm originally from New Jersey, which also wants to start gerrymandering. And then I went to college up in New York State, which has been completely gerrymandered for decades.
Totally. Yeah.
So that's actually where Dr. D is from as well. So I've seen it all my life. So I completely agree with you. It has to stop. And the average person just says, well, what do we do? How do we do it? So are you looking for volunteers? Are you looking for money? How can people help you first?
The first thing we need is awareness. I mean, this is a huge paradigm shift. So for people to wrap their head around, I'm sure you had a very different perception of this before we had the party the phone call, because people generally think party, they have preconceived notions. So
they're worried you're the next
breaking that
Green
notion
Party.
and getting them to see that this is really kind of a repurposing of the entire election system to restore our voice, to serve our purposes, not to serve the purposes of big money. I mean, big money's had decades to tweak the system, to work for it, and also to put barriers up to make sure that it doesn't change. Monopolies come down when people figure out ways around barriers, not through them. And this is what we've done. We found a loophole that allows us to work around the barrier. They won't fix the primary, we'll make a better one. And eventually people will put that primary out of business.
Right. Dr. D, I've been dominating all the questions. Didn't know if you had any.
I am completely fascinated by this. That's why I'm glad I'm here. I'm completely fascinated.
So, okay. So you want the awareness. The media isn't giving it to you. Obviously, you're doing shows like mine, hopefully to capture that one person. We do. I'm not going to mention his name, but we do have one political follower who's I don't even know how to say it without mentioning his name. I know Dr. D knows who it is. He's tall. How about that? But anyway, he actually listens to our show, which is pretty darn scary. So I wanted to know, how do you, do you need spokespeople? Are you looking for, I'm just trying to think how, if I was a PR firm or if I was an advertising firm, how I would go about selling your product to the people without using the word selling, but that's the only one I could come up with at the time.
I was just thinking that exact same thing. How do you expect to bring this to the masses?
And you just had, by the way, before you answer, you just had the 4th of July and here's where Dr. D, literally one of his favorite movies is 1776, where you literally had a bunch of men who had to create an entire Declaration of Independence. Ooh, almost made a mistake there. And you're kind of introducing something that it's not as radical, but it would be a transitional point of
totally.
U.S. history. It really would.
Doing a PR stunt in Philadelphia might be a good idea.
Right in front of the Liberty Bell. Right in front of the original Continental Congress Hall. What is that called? Is that a Congressional Hall? Independence Hall. Thank you.
Independence Hall.
Yeah, if you did an event right there. By the way, I would somehow figure out how to get off from work, grab Dr. D. We would do a live show from down there if that was the case. I love Philadelphia. These are the things that get people noticed. And people want to know. There's so many people out there who I personally know myself who want to do more, but they can't. Or they're terrified that they're going to lose their jobs. I mean, I know people who are afraid of, they can't even, they have to toe the political line because if they don't, they're going to lose their jobs. That's how afraid they are.
I think the nice thing about this is that it doesn't, we're not putting this in swing districts. We're not making people choose their color. We're more or less saying how deep is your red or blue,
Right.
And I think that people feel like the representation is way more extreme than they are.
It truly is.
And I think if we have one of the podcasts I was on, the host came up with the idea of us calling this the people's primary, and that's
right.
He said you can use it. So that's what we think of this is like a people's primary where we're gonna choose something that the people choose. And and the parties are going to pick their person. But I think at the end of the day, if people don't have to really sell out, we're going to get way better people running for office. We're basically just getting sons and daughters, relatives of rich people,
Right.
and it's
Nepotism.
Oh, 100%.
not.
You need The Rock because he was the people's champ, and he had to come out again as an independent and got yelled at.
The Rock.
The Rock. So he would
The
he would
founders,
step up.
the founders hated inherited power. They didn't want a House of Lords. I mean,
Right.
both of our chambers of commerce have become like you're inheriting power. And even when some people resign, they're like, "Oh, vote for my son or daughter to take my place." You know, having a family name in politics is a brand that is kind of like House parliamentary-ish. So, you know, I think we really have to get away from that.
And you truly nailed it right there. It's the brands. I mean, everything is like, I would hate it if Trump's sons ran. And I'm a conservative because I think that's horrible. You know, George Bush, I didn't vote for him. I think I voted for Alan Keyes the first time. You know,
Alan
like,
Keyes, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I voted for him because, you know, like, I don't want, I mean, this isn't John Quincy Adams. You know, I mean, it's bad.
I've compared this a lot to the Olympics. Every 4 years, there's somebody we didn't know that, you know, 3 weeks later, we're buying their Wheaties. You know,
Right.
It's a way for people to elevate their brand and base it on actual content, you know, putting the real political views in front of the constituents and them saying yes or no. I like this person, I don't like this person. But the system we have now is just absolutely terrible.
That is true. Now,
And, you know, my
Totally.
vision for this is that
Totally.
once you get 2028, if we did 20 red, 20 blue, that in 2030 we would, you know, expand the number we did in the House and start getting in the Senate. And then 2032, if we have enough of an installed base, that we'd figure out a way to do a national nominating contest with the President of the United States where all the states weigh in at the same time. And you
Right.
eliminate from a field of whatever down to, I don't know, we'll do a World Cup style, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1.
yeah, and plus you could finally get an electrician or a plumber who could run, who right now can't afford to run. You know, which
Well, one of the things that I think they understood about the Electoral College is that, and you think about the presidential primaries, if you have an extreme candidate, they might pick up like 30% of the vote. And then if you have 4 or 5 established candidates, they're spreading out that other
Yep.
15, 20%. So if you took the top 2 and had a runoff, they would consolidate that moderate vote. And the extreme candidate kind of gets taken out. And that's why the Electoral College was designed the way it was. It's supposed to moderate the selection. And, you know, when Andrew Jackson lost and said it was a corrupt bargain, it was actually working the way it should. There were 2 smaller factions that wanted to elect a different president.
Right.
And our system fuels extremism. And I think the founders would be really upset seeing that they took this system they thought would be very democratic and it's become very oligarchic.
I think they would. I said it last week. George Washington would slap everyone in the face if he was there today.
I say the founders would be crapping in their crypts.
Oh gosh,
Right now they're spinning in their graves.
it's absolutely atrocious what's going on. So, what are your next? Do you have any big plans coming on?
Yeah, we do actually have a PR thing planned for Philadelphia next week. It's kind of a secret thing, but I'll clue
not
you in
anymore.
on it.
Sorry.
And but that is, you know, we're going to have to do a stunt, unfortunately. And somebody gave us an opportunity to make hay from something.
Oh, I love
And
that.
we'll try, and I'll just keep trying. And but as time goes on, we'll just try to keep improving the app. Hopefully, we get, you know, somebody on a show that sees it. It gets into some of your money. We get the super PAC started. Once the super PAC starts, that can accelerate things. You know, so if they're going to overturn Citizens United, I want it to be after we implement this
Right.
and disrupt the system.
Oh, awesome. I love that. Well, now you get to have a little fun. Yeah, before the show, people, and I have to address our audience. Thank you, everyone. I didn't even, by the way, the name of the show is Art and the Crotchety Old Man, because I am a crotchety old man. You know, I complain.
Always crotchety.
Always crotchety. But we love to have people on like you who actually bring a smile to my face, because you seem like you could get something done. And that actually makes me a little less crotchety. But before the show began, we were saying how we always talk about movies and TV shows, and you were talking about the show that you were just watching, and it sounded fascinating. Tell us about it.
Well, I was on vacation and I happened to flip on down at the Jersey Shore. I happened to flip on a Philadelphia public station, and they had this. It's a 10-part series called In Pursuit, and it talks about the history of Philadelphia. I mean, I didn't appreciate it. You know, at the time of the Revolution, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia is the largest city in the colonies, is the largest state or largest colony of all the colonies in terms of population. And it was really the fascinating thing I found about it is the fact that it was settled by Quakers, and that they were very peaceful, and they kind of got along with the Indians. It wasn't until, unfortunately, the Christians came over and said, yeah, we want that land. We don't want to share it. And but it's really interesting just to kind of take things back to the very beginning and just kind of see how the country evolved and how Pennsylvania is kind of at a very politically center place, geographically, ideologically. I mean, very interesting where it was positioned. And I'm from Pittsburgh, but being from Pennsylvania, having a lot of association from Philadelphia, I certainly learned a heck of a lot by watching it. Just the first 4 parts of that, I think we're just through the Constitutional Convention, Revolutionary War period.
Was Philadelphia the second or third capital? New York was the. New York, I thought, was the first.
I thought Philadelphia was the first.
I'm not sure. I know
New York was the first.
New York was the first.
Okay.
Yeah, and then they moved to, I think, Philadelphia, and then Annapolis for some reason. Then
there
was
like the Supreme Court up there, because like so Wayne Wilson was one of the first Supreme Court justices, and I know they convened there.
Okay.
So that they did have that history.
Well, to our fans, because some fans only like to watch us for the movies, and they like to see my bald head and Dr. D's bald head. But I actually saw Great Awakenings. It did have some parts of Philadelphia. What an incredible movie. Now, I usually don't go into a lot of the deeply religious movies for politics, but it's something that a lot of people should watch. So I'm not going to go into great. I mean, it's basically it's Ben Franklin. You could see him reliving his past with his closest friend and how they bonded, and it was just pure energy that actually was the cornerstone of the entire revolution. So recommend that. Definitely, I'll be seeing a young George Washington, because that is like a mini revolution like you're about to have. And he's not an American yet, which is great. It's just his entire life about the English. So being an English colonel who gets blamed for their losses in the French and Indian War, cool things. Have anything on your side, Dr. D?
I just finished Dutton Ranch, and I thought that show was really good. That's a continuation of Yellowstone. I think I brought that up about a week or 2 ago.
Okay.
But that finale ended well. I'm not going to spoil, but it's on Paramount Plus, and I think people need to tune in, especially if you're a Yellowstone fan or a fan of Taylor Sheridan shows in general. It was really good.
Awesome. And next week, I'm going to ask you about Supernatural coming back.
Oh my goodness, don't get me started.
I don't know how long that's going to be. But anyway, Tom, do you have any words of wisdom to the people listening all over the world? I'd like to say all over the world, because when I saw like London and Brazil again, even though they lost the World Cup, it makes me smile when we get someone on you, because they ask me questions and I don't always know the answer. So it's
I've
great.
actually been in a couple of international podcasts, and the concept of having a free and equal process, can be adopted anywhere. And we want to make this application so it's configurable for different types. I think it's going to be most applicable in these gerrymandered House races, but we want to make it so it can be used in municipal races, mayoral races, whatever. But the reason why we're picking House races really is about gerrymandering. Mayor cities aren't really gerrymandered; they are what they are. So. That was really my mission, was to go after gerrymandered districts.
Well, another odd question for you, and possibly, and now of course my brain is fried. Is it the 20th Amendment or the 17th Amendment that took away the power of governors to appoint senators? I thought it was the 20th.
I thought it was the state legislature that was doing it when originally. So Wilson wanted the people to vote for the senators, right, and the president. I'm reading a book that just came out on James Wilson called The Lost Founder, and it goes through the whole Summer, the Constitution, the Convention, and his contributions. It's fascinating. If you like American history,
I
it's
love
by
it.
New York Times editor Jesse Wegman. It's called The Lost Founder. It's about James Wilson. Just came
Awesome.
out.
Awesome.
last week.
Another possible good read for us. Well, Tom, love to thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for coming, Tom.
I
Dr.
appreciate
D,
you having me. Thank you.
Dr. D, have any words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom is I am looking forward to seeing broader media coverage of America's Main Street Party because
Oh,
there
yeah.
isn't very much.
And I mean, I can see it. Get out there. Tom, I'm giving you a little mission. Feel free when you have some videos of it, send it to me. I will make sure it goes on my X account, no matter what, for our podcast, and we will have no problem posting. We're gonna post your anything you want to send us. We'll post it. Because
And
we want to
anything
spread the
Arden
word of
puts
this.
on his site goes on mine as well.
Yep.
Thanks.
Well,
Appreciate it.
I would love. I want this to work.
Awesome.
We need help in America. Well, thank you, everyone. And now a little bit more some Tchaikovsky because that's how we roll. Maybe not. That's called hitting the wrong button, actually deleting it. So anyway, folks, I greatly apologize. Tom, thank you. Dr. D, thank
Thanks,
you as
Tom.
always, and have a wonderful evening.